Hey,
Hey,
what's
everybody.
going on, guys? It's your favorite neighborhood reptile people. Sorry, I'm in a
Reptile
Spider-Man
people.
mood tonight. Got this hoodie in, so I got to make the references where we can. But
We'll forgive
so
you.
glad that you guys came back for another episode of Reptile Hangouts podcast. We have kind of a hot button issue to talk about before we introduce our guest tonight, and it's a USARK alert. And Nick's going to tell you more about that, aren't you, Nick?
Yeah, so we always plug USARK around here. We love USARK. They're the only organization fighting for our rights to be able to keep these animals. And I had something come to my attention today, which probably should have came to my attention a little earlier, honestly. So there is a new bill that they are looking at doing, or an act rather. It is called the America Competes Act of 2022. And it was brought to the House on January 28th of this year. And it's a huge, huge document, like most of these government legislative documents are. It's around 3,000 pages. And buried on about 4 of these pages, right in the middle, is a whole thing that sort of really pushes us into government overreach when we talk about our rights to keep animals. And now it's not reptile specific, but it does include reptiles. And it's sort of giving the federal government the right to basically ban almost anything they want based on the fact that it may or may not be able to survive in any given state within the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, somebody says this can survive in Florida. Well, if this act passes as it's worded, then they can go ahead and ban interstate travel and importation of that animal because of Florida. So, I mean, yeah, it's important to control invasive species. We definitely agree. But this is something we definitely need to get involved with. And the great thing about USARK is it asks us to come in and it gives us the tools that we need to be able to contact our legislators and do what we need to do. So if you go to usark.org, it's going to be right at the top of the page. It's going to be an alert that says the America Competes Act of 2022, Lacey Act Amendments. Go there. I'll make sure I put a link in the description down below. There's already one for USARK, but I'll probably put a more specific one after the show is done. Go there, read up on it. It'll give you some links, and it'll even have some formats for some letters for you to write to your local legislators. So you can get involved in this and voice your opposition. It's definitely important. We should all do it. I know I'm definitely going to do it. So get on
definitely. That. Yeah, definitely all of us here. No, let's do a quick round of updates. Gabe, how you been, dude?
Oh, bro, I've been good, man. Just working my butt off. Like I'm sure you guys have been. And
in my way.
Nothing really crazy going on over here. Other than that.
Yeah.
Good big move coming up, maybe?
Yeah, I got a big move coming up. That is true. Hopefully within the next month we'll be moving to another month and a half. So somewhere in there. We'll be moving to another house where we'll have, quite a bit of land. And we'll be able to expand this crazy practice. Yeah.
Definitely.
Space to have more reptiles and stuff like that. And considering maybe starting a little bit of a rat barn, so I can produce some feeders for myself.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, man.
Oh yeah. Not too much new here on my side either. Not with reptiles, that is. My wife is getting ever pregnanter. I just made that word up for you guys. So really any day now. So I'm excited for that.
Heck yeah, man.
Awesome. Yeah, same old stuff here. So I did do some pairing up on the 1st of February. This is one of the earliest that I've ever paired up since I started doing the crested geckos and stuff. So I got my crested geckos paired. I got my gargs paired. Excited about that. Everybody seems to be getting along. They're not tearing each other apart, which is typical. They usually don't do that, but you always worry. Other than that, just making some backgrounds still. I made a custom background for a lady who I met at a reptile show. She's really nice. And she shared the pictures that I shared with her. She doesn't have it yet. She's coming to pick it up soon. And now I'm getting orders like crazy. So I got some backgrounds, that I'm making and whatnot. Yep.
Right on, dude.
Got my first 2 thesis chapters back today, finally, from my advisor. So
look at that.
Hey,
yeah. with very few edits, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, while you're here, not while, but this is why you're here. We have a very special guest tonight, AJ Davidson over at AJD Reptiles. How you doing tonight, man?
He's bringing them in right now.
Hey,
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
what's up, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. So what's new? What's going on with you?
Just kind of in the heat of breeding season here. You know, Nick, you were saying you started pairing now. I'm getting to like the endings of my pairings right now. So some of the males that had a few females, specifically in Crested geckos, are kind of getting their last round of girls right now. So I typically start in January, like January 1st.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
So, yep.
Yeah, I've started later, almost ever since I started doing the Cresties. Mostly just because I kind of don't think about it, and then I'm like, oh no, because it's not like for me. It was started out as a hobby. Now it's starting. I'm trying to morph it into a business, but it's still not a very profitable one for me. So
Yeah.
it's not like make or break.
Oh, you better give it up if you're playing.
I think last year I paired in April, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But
Wow, that's really late. I feel like when I hit like, if it hits like January 15th and I haven't paired a single animal yet, I'm slacking.
yeah.
So,
Oh, wow, man. See,
I
I
feel
just-
good about getting
Yeah.
it done just now in February, so I'm happy
Yeah.
about that.
but it's all like I always say when people ask me about breeding, it's all context. So like,
Yeah.
you know, it's all based on when your animals stop laying in the fall. A lot of mine will cut off laying in like, you know, September or October. So
Right.
I give them at least a solid 3 months of 0 eggs, 3 to 4, and then they get repaired.
Yeah.
So
right?
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. So let's we gotta do the normal stuff, man. We gotta
Yeah.
do the hot button stuff. Let's
Yep.
get to know you a little bit, man. How'd you get into this?
Yeah, so I always say the origin story. So I always liked animals. I always liked reptiles and amphibians. But when I was a kid, I would always be, you know, flipping rocks, looking for toads and salamanders. And Illinois, where I lived in the suburbs, I wouldn't find a lot. So it would be like Christmas morning if I'd find a salamander of any variety. So it was mostly finding toads and window wells and under rocks and garter snakes and occasionally something kind of outside the norm a little bit. But that's kind of how it started. And then I think the first reptile I had, I blank whether I had like a captive reptile, whether I had like a Knowles or I had I don't even remember. It probably was a Knowles. I kept a toad in a cage in my house for a while. I kept salamanders, that I caught in a tank in my house for a while. But when I got started pretty young. I got my first Crested gecko when I was 13, and I'm 29 now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a while ago. And I had so I went to a friend's birthday party, and her little brothers had a Crested gecko. They were like 8 years old, and they had a Crested gecko. And I was like, what is this? You know, this is in like 2005. I'm like, what is this thing? And they're like, oh, we bought it at this reptile show, you know, an hour away from where I lived. So I was like, oh, so I begged my dad relentlessly, like, please, can we go? Please, please, please. And it was like week after week. And eventually he probably just got sick of me asking and was like, okay, fine, we can go. So I went to this show and I met a guy named Scott Gating, and I still see Scott once a year at Tinley. He'll just kind of be walking through the show. He doesn't really keep anything anymore. Like it. But yeah, he had some animals at the show that I went to. It was a little local show. He was the only person with Crested geckos at that time in Illinois that was like offering them for sale. So I ended up talking to him, getting a little like price sheet. It was just a piece of paper that he had typed out, like Crested geckos, you know, $75 to $200 or whatever. I found the price sheet the other day, and I think I actually gave, I had 2 of them. I gave him one like 15 years after the fact when I saw him at a Tinley. but ended up going to his house, and like 3-4 months later, scrapping money from doing odd jobs and all this stuff around the house my parents, thought would be hard and worthy of, paying me some amount of money for, and went and got a handful of geckos after some months of selling my personal belongings and working on odd jobs. So,
hey man, that's pretty
Oh yeah, that's cool, man. It's unique. I love the origin stories. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a little scrappy at first, but really, I think something that was odd for the time in which I did it. I approached it as a business even then. So back then, there was like Pangea forums had just started. So like the forums to talk about geckos on Pangea before Pangea ever made diet or any of those things was just starting. So people used to talk on like the Geckos Unlimited forum, which was Nathan Hall's forum. And so there wasn't really a lot of people doing it as business at that point. It was a lot of hobbyists. So that was kind of a focus of mine from the beginning, was kind of having a vision of what I wanted to produce and going after it then. So
yeah. Well, actually, speaking about that, and then you mentioned you'd already started your pairings. What anything got you excited for this season? Anything you're willing to talk about? Nothing trademark,
Yeah, no, you're
stuff,
fine.
But
Well,
any cool fun pairings you're excited about?
Yeah, there's definitely. So I would say like a few kind of signature things that I work on. Yellow pinstripes have been kind of like a mainstay for me for 10 plus years.
Oh yeah.
Yellow pinstripes, red pinstripes. And then I've kind of stumbled my way into this project that it's the pairing of it is called the parents of it is Felix and Julia. And it's like probably my most popular pairing. I have to tell people no that I don't have availability like 5 times a day. But
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. But this year I have 5 animals that were holdbacks from that pair that I'm crossing out. So I'm going to be able to say yes to a lot more people, which I'm excited about.
That's awesome. That's definitely be excited.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing. I also paired a bunch of leeches for the first time this year. So nobody killed each other.
Okay.
Which is good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yep. So I put together a bunch of leeches, which is fun. So looking forward to that. And just a lot of other species. I work with lots of different things. So
yeah, I know you
fun species all around.
The Urodactyloides go on the auction the other night. Speaking of which, just since I mentioned it, there is a link in the description.
Nice.
You and your friend Gabby from Morph Menagerie, you guys just started doing your streaming on YouTube. Also, you were streaming on Instagram and doing your auctions. So check that out. I think you guys are going to try to do it maybe a couple times a month, right?
We do it twice a month. And then we try to do at least 1, maybe 2 things kind of similar to this format. So interviewing breeders about like kind of in-depth breeding stuff for crested geckos. Just trying to kind of provide what we were experiencing in kind of the late night Tinley talks in a hotel lobby, or any of those things where we're talking about kind of the tricks of the trade and kind of how we approach things. And my thought was like, we should probably make some of this public.
Yeah, definitely.
So to help people that are new and maybe don't have the same, experience as
definitely. That's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we're not experts on any one thing, any of us. So having people on is helpful,
Yeah.
to,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate the plug. It's fun. The online world of gecko content is definitely interesting.
I had a good time. I had a good time apparently making people mad because they were lagging and I wasn't, and I was participating. I was saying the done, and everybody was like, "Why are you saying done?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Because you weren't lagging, they were mad at you.
Because it was done. I don't know. Everybody was getting
So,
stop saying done.
so how many are in your working collection right now? And everything's on site where you are?
Yeah. So static, like all the time, or like transient, like how many are in the house right now?
Well, let's go with both.
Probably all the time, maybe like 350, 400.
Nice.
And then
That many
transient, it probably fluctuates like up another 300.
Gotcha.
So it could peak, 657.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And do you do all the care and everything yourself?
I do, yeah. I do it all myself. Yeah.
How are you not still doing it at this exact moment? That's a lot.
Yeah,
I
was literally I was literally feeding crickets to some little Australian geckos 5 minutes before I sat down. So
I believe it.
And I've been doing it most of the days.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, I could only imagine. Luckily for me, I don't have to do none of that, but my woman takes care of all that for me.
Well, hopefully my wife is tuning in too to look at this, because every time we're at a show and somebody asks me how many geckos I have, and I tell them like, I don't know, like 40 something, she's like, yeah, too many. And I'm like, that's not a lot at all.
Yeah,
I talk about it. I've talked about it with a couple other people. Like, I think back on the time that it took to care for the collection, and I feel like when it started getting out of hand, like as far as like time commitment, is when you break like 250, 300 total, I feel like is when you kind of cross a line of like, you can't really like work a full-time job and do that and have a life. So there's like this line, and it's very hard to say when you need to kind of let something. You either need to have less animals or you need to quit your job. So yeah. It's I hit that point like a year ago. So I was like, all right, am I going to do animals only, or am I going to continue kind of living this 65, 70 hour a week madness life? So
yeah,
no. I was like, all right,
with that kind of volume, what now all that's probably not producing animals, right? I mean, out of the 350, not,
and that's not all cresteds. So crested geckos, it's probably like 55 females maybe. But I think my cap will probably be around 100.
Okay. So what do you do for incubation with that kind of volume?
A lot of the divider tackle boxes. So at any given time, I'll have like 4 or 5 going.
Like a large Plano, and that you can,
okay. two per slot. So perfect. Like right now, I don't know how many eggs I have, maybe 60, but I'm at the very beginning of the season. So
now do you shelf?
More coming.
Do I shelf?
Shelf
incubate, like ambient temp incubation.
Just ambient temp. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I have an incubator for other species, but I don't put the crested gecko eggs in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Crested gecko eggs are, at least from my experience, they're like bulletproof, man.
Oh yeah.
my reptile room has gotten super hot. I'm talking about like 83. And up, and those things, I mean, they've done just fine, like no problem. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have the animals in the basement, so I'm a little insulated from huge fluctuations.
That's why.
Yeah, it was hard. When my wife and I were going to move down here, one of the things that I said was we have to have a basement in North Carolina, and that's hard to find. It's very hard. So I would say, like, if I took the county that we live in, and I put, a filter on Zillow or Realtor and look for a house with a basement, just with a basement, like regardless of price, there'd be like, in a county of 2 million people, there'd be like 4 houses.
Wow.
It was crazy. So to find a house with a basement was the first challenge. And then
Is it
everything
finished?
else.
Is it like a finished
Yeah.
basement? Or
Yeah,
did
I'm
you
in the
have to do
basement.
that?
I'm in the
Okay.
basement right now. Yep.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's nice. I've actually got 8-foot ceilings finished, HVAC.
sweet.
So
Man,
it's
that's
Nice.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for, and I have no problem finding that. When we're ready to look, I look at houses online all the time, and I live in West Virginia. It's super common here.
Yeah.
So it seems to be more common in like rural and like mountainous terrain areas.
And anywhere where it's cold enough to have I think there's like a frost line, and it's like in Ohio or somewhere. There's a point where basements disappear if you go further south.
Yeah.
So like in Illinois, 90% of houses have a basement. Just because that was how they built houses.
I've never actually sat and looked around here for a house with a basement.
Yeah, they don't really exist to my knowledge.
Yeah,
that's insane.
But it is very nice to have. I don't lose sleep at night about the temperatures. So,
I could only
where I kind of would, when I have my animals in a space there wasn't a basement, if I'd go out of town or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if power goes out or and obviously I have generators and everything, but it's much more peaceful with your animals below ground.
Yeah, I would imagine it is.
So,
that's my ultimate goal: is get them out of the rest of my house and put them below.
Yeah,
put them in the.
You live in their house.
Yeah,
I live in their house right now. Yeah,
I'm living in the Geckos' house right now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you just paired up some leeches and stuff.
Yeah.
What all do you have species wise pairing up coming into the season?
So I'll start with like most animals to least animals in like the project, I guess. Maybe I'll do that. Most would be crested geckos. Second most would probably be Saracenorum.
Oh man.
White collar Saracenorum. And then gargoyles. After that is probably, I'll just lump leeches in there. Then I have a good number of cave geckos, Aussie leaf tails, spiny tails, knob tails, diplodactylus. I'm trying to think what else I have.
I think the proper word for this would be slew.
Yeah,
So many.
It's a mix. I have a pair of cat geckos. I have some Uroplatus.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of different stuff.
You got a lot more than I saw on the social media. That's what you're telling me.
I don't like to post too much about things that I don't have offspring from.
Yeah, you and Brian.
I should though. I should.
You and Brian are both.
Man,
those are literally verbatim the exact words he said to me.
We're slacking.
I talked to him on the phone.
We're slacking for sure.
Yeah, he said, I don't like to post things that I don't have offspring for. He literally said that.
Yeah, no, I think that part of that is just, I don't know. I don't want to like get somebody excited about like, oh man, I'm like, he's got these. Yeah, he's going to have, I'm like, I don't want him to even know until I at least have eggs on the ground, like.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, at your level, I think that's probably smart, because somebody will start hitting you up, trying to beat your door down for it.
And the quantities I produce,
even if I don't produce it, because I'm not that well known yet, people are just going to be like, "Ooh, pretty gecko."
Yeah, the quantities I produce of a lot of those species, I don't even have to sell them online. I just sell them at shows. So if I put them online, then it's kind of a lot of inquiries that I have to disappoint people. So typically, if anybody wants any of that stuff from me, it's going to be Tinley, Daytona. Bit larger shows. I'll have stuff.
I'm definitely gonna have to talk to you about some Saracenarums.
I can help you with those.
Oh yeah,
sure.
I want some white collar size.
I have a lot. So. Yeah. So I hope that answers it. I mean, it's kind of like a slew, and it's. I just love geckos. I have nothing in my house that's not a gecko. So
I feel you there.
I like geckos of all varieties. So I want to get some like little Phelsuma clemeri. I've never kept day geckos. So like, man, it'd be fun to get one of the like super colorful kind of, semi-common, but like established care, something that people know how to take care of. So
Man,
I'll dip my feet in on something like that. So
I kept some day geckos for a
You
little.
had the grandest though, did you?
Yeah. Oh my God, man! You want to talk about stressful, bro?
why?
It's
Well,
like
just them
fast.
when they're out of the cage, man.
Yeah.
Air is so fast.
You want some Saracenorum. I mean, you're just asking for more speedy animals. It's not as fast as a day
No, I
gecko,
wouldn't-
but
I
it's
wouldn't.
definitely probably the fastest Rhacodactylus.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Man, yeah, I think they're beautiful.
But they're also very intelligent. So that's kind of, it's good and bad because they're fast and they're smart.
That's definitely trouble. Sounds like trouble.
Miniature raptors in your house.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
we're kind of partial to our Cresties over here.
Yeah.
With your kind of volume and the way you produce animals on such a large scale, what do your dietary regimen look like? You feed certain things certain times of the year. What?
Yeah.
Take us through your overall diet.
So that's an interesting question. I would say it's changed over time. I am more and more convinced that insect heavy diets are the proper way to feed crested geckos. I'm more and more convinced every day of that. So, I've done a lot of experiments and just watching animals growth, whether you feed them, if you feed an animal pure diet, they'll take 2.5, 3 years to reach maturity.
Oh my God.
I mean, they take a long time, but if you give them one meal of bugs a week, it's a year, 16 months. And if you give them 2 meals of bugs a week, and you're not power feeding them. You just get, a handful of insects.
Yeah.
They'll reach maturity in a year. It's unbelievable what the difference of insects does. And the animals just look better. They look healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tangent. I hate to do this to my brother.
No, yeah, you're fine.
Tangent on it, but you brought something up that makes me think. I have an experience that some people don't seem to be able to relate to in this part of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I have a handful of crested geckos. Most of them are adults now that just won't eat bugs. Like I can't get them to do it. Is that something that you experience quite a bit?
So when they hit adulthood, it's kind of hit or miss. Sure. But the adult animals generally don't eat as much as juvenile animals. So like right now, like in the off season, I feel like my animals are eating maybe once a week. Like I'll offer food 3 days a week and they're eating maybe once.
Are we talking about like crested gecko diet or are we talking about
like a liquid diet?
Okay.
And then as far as insects, I'm probably feeding insects to my adults once a week to once every 2 weeks. And I know certain cages to skip because I always end up having to pull bugs out of them.
Yeah.
But as a rule of thumb, typically the females will all take them mid breeding season. If you offer them insects, they will take them. So
I'll give that.
You can tell when they start laying and they start thinning out a little bit, and you offer them some like adult sized crickets that are dusted.
Yeah,
they take the chance to refuel. So
yeah, because of my breeding females, the majority of them normally don't take bugs from me.
Yeah,
so it'd be interesting. I'll give that a try. I mean, I do supplement the food with a liquid calcium more often during the breeding season than when I'm not, for the females. So I'm trying to make up for that loss of calcium with all the egg production. I know it's not as bad in the Cresties as it is in like Chihuahuas, but
yeah. And so I'll share this with you. I don't really care. It's not really that big of a secret, but I've been developing my own food for over a year, feeding it, developing it, my own diet. So that's what I primarily feed now is that, other than insects. So,
and when you say that, you mean like a mixable, add water, like
so similar,
type?
like a similar, dry diet that's mixed with water. Yep.
To a Pangea or a Rapashi or something like that.
Yep.
So it's your own.
But I even in, it's kind of hard to to say that like you can feed this animal only this diet and they do amazing, because I really think that insects are a crucial piece. So even when I bring the product to market, that's going to be part of the messaging. So I'm really passionate about the fact that like these animals eat insects. Where like when these animals hatch in the wild, if you think about them, they're not moving very far, right? They hatch out. How far do they move? You know,
A few meters, maybe.
That's what I was thinking. A few meters.
That's like
Right.
yeah. I was gonna be generous and say like, do they move 1,000 feet? You know, in
Probably
their
not
lifetime.
even, yeah.
And like, if you've ever seen pictures of this environment, it's not like there's a mango tree every 3 feet.
No.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
It
You know,
seems like
so-
everything's got mangoes in it.
I think they're really opportunistic feeders. So what they stumble upon, they eat if they can fit it down their throats. So
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
and a lot of times it's each other. So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
really
In general,
eating-
you would say they'd eat more insects in the wild. I
yeah,
mean,
they're really eating pretty much anything they can find. And if they happen to find fruit in the 3 months a year, there's a rainy season and there's fruit available that falls and perfectly rots and breaks open, and they happen to stumble upon it, sure, but they're not eating it every day.
that's sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, I've
Um,
often thought the same thing. I just always thought it quietly because I figured it'd be like a, bad thing to say
Well,
around a bunch of
apparently,
gecko people. I was like, it's common sense. It just doesn't seem like.
I was told
Something
the
that
other
would happen
day,
all the
this
time.
was news to me. Apparently, I say controversial things, so
Ah,
I don't think that's controversial to
It's
share
all right.
what is in my 17 years of breeding geckos, which I don't think is. There's people that have done it much longer than me, but what has led to healthier animals? That's all I'm basing it off of, is health of offspring and breeding animals. So
which is what it's all
Yeah.
about anyway.
Yeah.
The health of the animal.
yeah, no, I wouldn't. I tell
Everything else is hearsay.
people that I sell animals to, feed the diet a couple times a week and feed bugs. So
Yeah,
that's my approach to most people.
seems pretty straightforward, man.
Yeah.
So, on this diet, what you doing, man? When are you thinking you're gonna go to the market with this? This is awesome.
Hopefully in the next few months is the
Yeah.
target. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let us know, man. We'll
You
Yeah,
watch
we'll hook you guys up. It'll be
We'll
good.
give it a try. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to actually maybe get together for another episode when you plan to actually release it, and we'll do a release episode. We'll go over the dietary supplement, everything.
Yeah, totally. We can
Have a
talk
whole
about
episode on it. That would be
development
awesome.
of it, all the science
Market.
behind it. It's been a nerd fest for
Oh,
a
yeah.
while. So
We love
we're
science.
working with a bunch of food scientists, and really getting a lot of analysis done to try to get to what is optimal for the animals, especially in a diet that includes insects. So
So, damn right.
Yeah. totally.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, I know you're from
Awesome.
up north. You do any you hockey fan? It's
Um,
All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm a hockey fan. I had gone to some Hawks games, kind of growing up, but then just went to a Hurricanes game in Raleigh like 2 weeks ago, which was awesome.
Good. Yeah,
They,
good friend of mine was there.
Yeah, I went to the Canucks and Hurricanes game. It was great. So I wouldn't say I'm generally a sports fan. I would say I'm generally a outdoors fan.
Yeah, man.
So
course.
fishing,
there we go.
camping, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm firmly in the middle. I like it all.
Yeah,
We're all bass fishermen, though. We love it.
nice. Yeah, we could talk about that for sure.
Not for you, bro. You ain't got
Wait, what?
what? Oh, what?
Okay, I haven't fished in a while, but whatever.
It doesn't count as fishing if you never catch anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Gabe would know,
They're throwing shade at you.
Gabe would know about that.
Yeah, we had we had
Gabe's
the
the
same
pro.
conversation with Wally on a while ago.
We
man.
did.
Oh yeah. Wally and I knew each other from the beginning. So
Nice.
Wally
Yeah.
he's from southern Wisconsin and I'm from northern Illinois. So We were probably an hour from each other.
Yeah, so y'all were crossing paths early on.
Yeah, we were crossing paths in a lot of shows. So
yeah,
a lot of
Wally's
Wisconsin-based shows.
great, man.
very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we like Wally. He's a good guy.
Yeah, totally.
And I knew he was gonna make that comment. Wally says, "That's why they call it fishing, not catching."
Yeah, right.
I have a little bit of a reputation amongst us that I can't stand fishing. I like to go catching. And if I'm standing somewhere for 15 minutes and I'm not catching anything, then I'm going.
Yeah, he's ready to fucking go.
Hey, I am not ashamed to be, if I'm not catching bass, I'm not ashamed to go catch panfish. I'm not out there to just sit and not catch anything. I don't care.
Great story, actually.
No, if there's CJ, he'll catch a panfish, put it on a hook, throw it back out, and catch
the bass with the pan.
Yeah.
I've done that thousands of times.
Do that.
We were all standing elbow to elbow one day bass fishing at a local hole, and it was just not going well. And I was like, all right, y'all dumbasses keep throwing your lures out to an empty lake. I'm going to catch some bluegill. And I caught one that just was perfect size. I had a Texas rig on.
Like 2.5, 3 inches.
Yeah, it was about 3 inches.
Yeah.
And I had a Texas rig on my bass rod, so I pulled the worm off of it, got the weight off of it, put a bobber on it, gave it like 3 feet.
Yeah,
dorsal hook.
Classic.
The bluegill.
Did you get a big white and red bobber? Just go super old school.
I had honestly forgot about it, and then I look up and I'm like, "Where's my bobber at?" Thinking they're messing with me, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "My bobber's out there. Who's fucking with me?" Like, it wasn't us, so I start reeling it in. Sure shit, man. It was like a 6-pound bass. It was big.
That's incredible. I have caught so many fish doing that. It's like unfathomable. I grew up near a lake, and I would do that every day.
Yeah,
I would catch a bluegill, put it on a rod with a hook and a bobber, cast it out, put it in like on the docks. There was like a spot you could put your rod in. So I'd stick just like the support beams of the dock, put my rod in and then keep fishing. Just keep watching that bobber every once in a while. Cause it's just, you got 2 arms, you're fishing 2 poles. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. Wally, they don't quite jump in the boat, but I can put you on them, man, if you're ever down here. If you're ever down this way. That goes for you too, Nick. If you're ever down here and you want to learn how to fish.
Oh yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you want lessons.
You know what? I've been fishing that hole longer than you've been alive, asshole.
Not quite, but it's close.
All right, so let's get back to the gecko.
Back to reptiles.
Back to reptiles. Sure.
Yeah.
What you want to talk about, Nick?
What do I want to talk about? I mentioned this to you when I was talking to you, AJ, about genetics and stuff. So I guess rather than go back to maybe go back to the foundations a little bit. I know you started early. I mean, 2005 is pretty early in the Crested Gecko game. So, what were you dealing with then, and how long did it take you to get to where you wanted to be with pattern and stuff like that? Or did you just do it all yourself, or did you just sell?
No, I mean,
other geckos and then get into it.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of take you back to the beginning. So in 2005, full pinstripes were just like the first ones were appearing. I think that there was a couple people that had 1 or 2 animals, but I remember some iconic animals where people were like, this animal's insane. It was like a 90% pinstripe, but that was like the pinnacle. It was like, whoa, look at this. And I remember the first full pinstripe that I saw sold for $400, and people were outraged because of how expensive it was. People were like, $400, that is like a total ripoff. Wow. How dare you sell it for that amount of money? So the first animals I got were like low coverage harlequins, patternless animals with like 1 or 2 Dalmatian spots, like yellow or orange patternless, tigers, and partial pinstripes.
Okay.
Animals that were 50%, broken dashed pinstripes.
So I guess what most people would consider pet quality nowadays.
Yeah, like you can buy geckos at Petco that were twice as nice as anything that existed 17 years ago. Yeah. Like the stuff that you get, the stuff that I wholesale now, people would have lost their mind over 17 years ago.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Me and Nick got into geckos.
Yeah, right around the 2012, 2013 area, we got a few Cresties between the two of us.
Yeah.
And
that was a time when a lot was happening.
Yeah, it was
I would say that the biggest jump, I talk about this a lot, or I have in, stuff I've done on YouTube and stuff, but like 2014 was a point that both the geckos got way higher quality and the prices went out of control.
Oh my God.
2014, I remember it was just like everybody would put, like, you'd post, not me, but like everybody was just like, every gecko was posted for like $700. And I'm like, every gecko is $700. Why is this? Yeah. Like if it was like half decent looking, people were just, that was when lineage really started becoming important to people too.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a thing to track lineage before that, but rarely would someone ask you for it before like 7, 8, 9 years ago. So people would track it, but it was not like, hey, can you tell me this gecko's great grandparents and do you have pictures of this gecko from 15 years ago? That's where we're at now, but that wasn't what it used to be.
Yeah. So sort of an offshoot of the same question that I asked you. I mean, you started out with, obviously probably what was the best that you could get at the time.
Yep.
And did you just really go from there and just sort of,
so I'll
raise them back up, breed them back into the same projects to sort of reinforce that, or did you just sell and buy better stuff?
So in the early days, it was a lot of produce the nicest animals that I could, keep the nicest ones that I could, and then sell the generations before it. Like 2 years later, I'm selling adults and I'm replacing them. So I started early with that cycle of like, I guess what would it be? Better, move on with better, like every 2 years.
Okay.
And then I would say in like 2011 ish, I started kind of making more friends in the hobby, and then I started doing a lot of trading. Okay. I've never been somebody that's bought a lot of geckos. Sure. I've bought more geckos this year than I think I've bought in the last 15 years combined.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's just because now I'm like, man, I've tried to make this, tried to recreate, like high color, like tricolor animals in my own collection out of my own bloodlines. So I'm like, man, I just need that like special sauce. I got to buy an animal. I got to buy like a cornerstone animal to put that in the collection. Yeah. And some stuff, it's hard to get there from square one. So
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, in general, it was sell all the offspring that didn't like catch my eye, that didn't wow me. And then I got to a pretty big collection around 2010. I had a good amount of animals. And I was producing a lot of like mid-tier animals at the time. So it was a lot of animals that would be selling in the like cheap animals were $50, $75. I was selling a lot of like $200 animals, but then every once in a while I'd be producing these, $400 or $500 animals that were really nice. And my dad had a chat with me one day, and he's like, why are you working so hard? You have, these are the animals everybody wants. Trim the collection down and produce as many of those as you possibly can. And that was kind of the start of that. Yeah, he's a very smart businessman. So I went into college in 2010, and I went to school in Chicago and then would commute out 2 times a week to care for my animals. And then my dad would do 1 day a week for me. So, but my collection was pretty small at that point. You know, I maybe had 10 breeding females at that point. So I had kind of trimmed it down in college, and then 2014 hit. Right when I got out, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's blow it up and hold back a bunch of stuff. And I could devote a lot more, you know, kind of effort to it. So
now, you know, something that I've kind of, you know, been thinking about. You were talking about earlier, you had, you know, you're at like 50 females. 50 females right now. How do you handle all this babies, man?
I would say, like, man, all of the modern things that we have now, like shoebox racks and like learning how to like vent the cages where you don't have to like open them every day. You could spray them through the front. Like all that stuff gets to the point where it's doable. I like to at least get eyes on the animal, like, because a lot of them will hide under a paper towel, under a hide or whatever. Like, I want to see every animal once a week. That's a thing that I do, that like, I don't want to miss, like, this animal's got a piece of stuck shed on its tail or whatever. Like, I want to see every animal at least once a week. So typically that's the day when I feed crickets. I'll make sure I get eyes on everybody.
Gotcha.
So, and then I split my animals. So I put them when they hatch, they go together, clutch mates in a box. But I split them pretty quick because I like to keep clean tails. That's a big thing that is important to me. Yeah, and if I have to breed less animals to do that, I will.
Yeah.
Super small operation, so it's easy for me to put everybody in their own box, like right out of the egg, which is what I do.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'd like to try to keep that going for as long as I possibly can, because that's one of the big things when I do my local shows. Everybody's always like, "Oh wow, geckos all have tails," and I'm like, "Yeah."
I had somebody comment on one of my Facebook posts the other day, and they're like, "Hey, I just have a question. Why do all the other breeders' geckos not have tails?" And I was very polite in the way I answered it, but I said something to the effect of, they don't feed them enough and they keep them together longer than they should.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to.
It's going to happen no matter what you're working with.
Yeah. I basically said, if every gecko on this person's table doesn't have a tail, don't buy a gecko from that person, because clearly they don't have the animal's best care in mind. So that's always been important to me. And there's occasional, you know, you get a gecko that throws his tail for no reason, or, you know, some freak thing happens. But I would say I have about a 99% clean tail rate.
Yeah, we have one, you know, that dropped a tail, right? From this, just one dropped the tail this season. And it just happens to be probably the prettiest one. I'm like, what in the hell, man?
Yeah. It's really goofy though. Like, the geckos that throw tails for me most often are adults. And it's just, you know, breeding season, that'll happen. In Illinois, you get a large thunderstorm come in, 4 adults with tails gone. It's like, you just roll your eyes and you're like,
I would
whatever.
Just roll up into
a ball. It's funny because I don't know. I guess I just haven't been doing it long enough or in large enough a number to experience that yet. But I haven't had that experience. My house is loud, man. It's loud. I have a 6-year-old. He's constant. I got 2 dogs. They're constant. I got neighbors upstairs. I'm surprised you can't hear them right now.
Yeah.
The bird. Very close. If I had a tail and I was around your bird, I'd chuck it.
I'd drop it off too.
Well, maybe it's one of those things where, like, exposure therapy, your geckos were like raised in a hostile environment.
Maybe, from day one. Like, in the eggs, they can hear all the noise, and they're like, "Oh,
they're like, I'm hatching into an insane environment. I better be tough."
Yeah, because I'm at I've never had a baby drop its tail yet so far.
Okay, good.
3 seasons or so now, so it's not.
The crested geckos are finicky. I've seen geckos hatch and drop their tail in the egg before they exit.
Yeah. I was just
Nick's
gonna say,
gonna call
I heard that
tomorrow.
on a YouTube
Bro.
video earlier, actually.
I've had it happen a couple times, and it is so frustrating. I'm like, you have one job: just climb out of the egg.
Yeah,
That's
just
all you
get
got to do. That's all you have to do.
Oh man.
It's funny. But yeah, so I will say my whole collection has really been built on selective breeding and trading.
Okay.
I would say that's how I got to where I am.
Yeah.
I bought very few. I probably bought, like, Crested Geckos, I've probably bought less than 50.
See,
Wow.
that's after my own heart right there, man. I'm a cheap ass.
Brian will tell you that I am one of the cheapest people he knows.
Yeah.
So I would rather work for it than buy it. And that's just my thing.
Yeah.
So
I am extremely patient. I will wait. I will wait for the right deal, man.
Yeah. There's value to both.
Yeah.
I think that both approaches, you can either go like fast and furious and buy your way in, or you can go slow and steady and take 17 years to get to where you want.
I'll see you in the 2040s then.
Yeah. I'll see you then.
Yeah. I'm going slow and steady. I got a guy like that who comes to my local expos. He comes to my table every time and he looks and he's like, "Oh, I think I might just buy some of this stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then he goes to the other table and he spends all his money. But
I love that. I love when they say, "I'll be right back," and then my favorite is when they're this is my favorite thing ever. You guys, Tinley, you got to come see me at Tinley because I'll have lots
we
of
go
stories.
in October. We try to.
Yeah, I vend with Brian. Brian and I vend together. So
gotcha.
Wally actually has a good. How do you on the chat? Wally,
you got it. You got it.
That was me.
The issue is I don't know how to make it go away afterwards.
What are your thoughts on newer morphs and traits people are working on? Wally, what are you referring to, like xanthics and cappuccinos? Which things specifically?
Oh,
Ooh, I didn't know they had xanthic crusties.
Crazy.
Yes.
I'll have to look into that.
What? The cappuccinos?
No, xanthic.
Both of them are
expensive.
expensive.
Amazing. But the super cappuccinos and stuff like that, I've seen.
And the question about my diet being tested on racks. Yes, every Rhacodactylus in my house.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. So newer traits: xanthic, caps, lilies. I've had opportunity to get both caps and xanthics, and I have not taken it yet. Reason is they're just not that interesting to me. I think that there's a place for it. I think that the lily white xanthic animals are cool.
Yes.
But I don't like that animal is inherently like extra inbred. I don't like that. To produce xanthics, they inbred the animals. To produce lilies, they inbred the animals.
Basically, yeah.
So I don't love that. Would I get them eventually? Maybe. I'm not going to spend $10,000 on them.
Nope.
Yeah.
If they were something like if Lily White had a super form and it produced a full white animal and like the base form of the animal was beautiful and the super form was beautiful, like I'd spend the 10 grand at heartbeat.
Right.
But caps, in my opinion, are ugly in the base form and uglier in the super form. So I don't need something that looks like a smooth salamander with like ghost eyes. Like if it's not like, I like crested geckos. If I want a salamander, I'd buy one.
Right. That makes sense.
That's fair.
I'm gonna make a lot of people unhappy with me, but
hey man, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's when a trait becomes popular that makes the animal less pretty. I don't get it either. I mean, I mean, lily white is.
I understand lily white.
Yeah,
I work with.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I work with lily whites in a small number. Like I breed like 4 females a year.
Sure.
Because I like to have the option for people that ask for them. But I really try to produce the nicest ones I possibly can. Like I never like took my lily male and bred it to 30 females. I never did that.
Yeah.
And when I got my lilies, I got them. So there was 3 people that got them the first wave. So there was like waves of when Lily Exotic sold them. And I got them on the second wave, which was like 6 months after the first wave. And I still was like, I'm keeping it small because I didn't want to be the guy that just, bred my whole collection to one male. So.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've always, had this thought about lilies, and I told this to Gabby too, because she said something about breeding her female lilies. And I was like, well, you're literally the first person that I think I've ever heard say that. Most people are always like, oh, you want a male lily so you can put it to more stuff. And then she told me that exact same reason. And I'm like, that's extremely good reason. Like,
no. And she keeps it, small and select on the lilies too. So it really just, there was so many people that just produce so many of them and so many low expression ones that it just kind of ruined it in a lot of ways. Like if people would have tried to keep it like highest quality, but I can't tell you how many folks I meet at a reptile show where it's like they're showing me pictures of their geckos and they're like, this is my male and it's a lily, and they're like, and these are my 17 females I breed him to. And I'm just like, why do you do this? I don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's crazy. I have 3 that I'm growing up that I hatched. I got in on the back door. I bought a female that was already gravid from a really nice male lily. This lady at my local show wanted to get out of it, so she sold her to me. And she laid 5 eggs for me, and I got 3 lilies out of it. And they're all really high expression, really nice. Now I hope they're all girls. I wasn't at first hoping that, but after talking to Gabby, I hope they're all girls. It'd be nice, to have them all be girls, and then be able to pick up some really nice males along the way to give, to put into them eventually. Yeah. I
do like lily whites. It's so crazy that there was a trait that basically was just the cheat code for what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Like who would have ever thought that like there'd be a gene that just makes the
really
geckos
creamy geckos, right?
It just like the thing that people worked for like 20 years to make.
Yep.
There was just a gecko that was just the cheat code to that.
Yeah.
And so that's what brought, lily whites literally brought probably thousands of people to the market to breed crested geckos that weren't there before, because it was almost kind of seen as like this like easy switch or like a gold rush, which I'm not mad about, because those people probably stick around and they'll work with other stuff. But it's crazy that gene does things that you wouldn't think it could do. Like you breed it to like super Dalmatians and it does like the geckos have no spots and they're like crazy looking.
I tell you what I love. I love the tricolor lilies. Like,
I like those too.
Those guys are freaking.
Mike asked this question. Do you want me to answer this?
Sure.
Yeah. Whichever one.
If I was developing a line/project from scratch, how would you personally prefer to outcross to avoid excessive line breeding?
That's a great question, actually.
I would say a lot of animals are, Mike, a lot of these animals trace back to the same animals. If the like real lineage nerds out there, you can make it about 4 generations back, and then it all kind of dead ends into like the same 4 or 5, and it kind of dead ends to the same places. Yep. So I would tell you buy animals that are visually similar to what you want to produce, and try to get them from relatively separate sources. And as you produce offspring, then you can go find another animal to breed those offspring to. It all kind of depends on. I'm generally not a fan of line breeding unless there is a specific trait you're trying to express that has not existed previously. I'm not a fan of doing it
just because
excessively. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if you ever do have to do it, you do it once. You hopefully produce the offspring that you envisioned, and then you take that offspring and you breed it to something as unrelated as you possibly can.
Right.
Mhm.
So to deepen the gene pool as much as you can, as shallow as it already is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It is extremely shallow.
yeah.
Well, anybody got anything else for Mr. AJ? We are a little over an hour now.
Well, I mean,
We're cruising, man. I do my live for like 5 hours.
I know you guys do.
You guys got it.
I was in it for like
this
2 hours, and then I was like, I got to go to bed. I'm driving in the morning.
Man, I'm just getting started here.
no.
I wouldn't.
If Gabby was here, we'd be cracking bottles of wine. We'd be getting, we'd be eating cheese at like 1 a.m.
I wouldn't be
Ham and
opposed.
fruitcake, maybe.
Yeah, maybe some liver sausage.
I wouldn't be opposed to having like a super episode, long stream,
like a round table.
us,
Yeah, that'd be
AJ,
fun.
Brian, Gabby, Brett.
Oh, a super group. That'd be how many streams can you do on this?
I don't know.
I think
if we gotta buy the
eight's
premium,
good.
I'll buy that.
Maybe we
shit.
get Wally up in it too, huh?
Get
Oh,
Wally
that'd be
in it.
fun.
And we could do
Yeah.
like a long conference, the
Yeah,
first
that'd be
ever
fun.
Reptile Hangouts breeder conference.
I think
virtually.
the next thing that Gabby and I need to do is we have to do like a 24-hour stream. Not 24 hours, but like 12 hours at least.
Okay.
Like a full day stream. That's actually, it's not like phoned in, like we actually like plan it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get like Red Bull IVs to get through that, buddy.
I don't know. We do the 4-hour one, and I like, even when I get off that, I'm still like, it depends on if it's a long night, like if the audience is not enthusiastic. But if people are into it, then yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
I could definitely go 5 hours. I couldn't start it at 9:30 after a 65-hour work week and then go 5 hours. But
No, yeah. We normally start at 8 and it ends between 12 and 1.
yeah, if we could do that on like a Saturday,
We do it on a Thursday.
hey,
That's not happening.
I got a random question. It was not a really
Yeah.
good question. I know that you say that you love geckos, and
Yeah.
that's really your.
You said that like you was lying. I know you said it. Be honest.
I know you claim you like geckos.
You might like the geckos.
Yeah.
But anyways, there has to be something else that you like.
As far as reptiles,
As far as reptiles. So give me a
man, I like a lot of things. But
something that you would actually keep.
That I keep or that I would keep?
Would keep.
Anything that you would keep. Anything that you. I don't know.
I'll give you a medium list of things that I like that I don't keep, and that's a whole nother thing of how I pick what I keep and what I don't keep. I really like carpet pythons.
Hey,
I really like any Australian pythons. So
Yeah,
I like Australian pythons. I do like hognose. I like locale specific kings, specifically king snakes, like locale specific king snakes. I like bearded dragons a lot. I really like monitors. I like dwarf monitors. Like Brian's got a few species of dwarf monitors, or he's got the Pilbara rock monitors. I like Ackies and rock monitors. I like the tree monitors. I like a lot of different stuff. But the things that I feel like I either have the skill set to do, I have the facilities to do, I have the consistent food sources to do, all of those things kind of play into my decision of what I keep and I don't. If that makes sense.
Man, nobody ever says chameleons, man. I'm getting a little.
I like chameleons,
upset,
but
man.
I don't think I could handle the heartbreak of their lifespan.
Yeah, I'm preparing myself for that.
Oh God, I'll tell you what. Listening to Bill Strand's podcast, and you hear like the basically the life story of like a Bill.
Oh my gosh!
Child.
I listen to his podcast too, and I don't. Man, I like chameleons.
He's the only
but
guest we had on that likes chameleons. Look at that.
Well,
I like chameleons. Trust me, I like them. I like them a lot. I feel like it's like I used to keep Europlatus, like a decent number of them. And it's keeping them is just like signing up to just like have your heart broken like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you go through all this work, you produce offspring, and then you raise those offspring up and you're like, man, I got this animal raise this animal from an egg that I produced all the way up to full grown. And then you just come in one day dead. It's like, what went wrong? Nothing. All the other siblings are alive. And then like 6 months later, dead. And this is almost everyone's experience. So there's clearly something like missing in diet or care, or in gut load or something.
So you're telling me they get to how old and then they just croak?
What are chameleons? 3 years, 4 years?
No, we're getting them up to the 6-7 year range now with good husbandry.
Females too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as
That's
I
pretty good.
as far as I know, yeah. Coming around. It's getting a lot better now that we know more about the husbandry, thanks to Bill and other people, but namely Bill. I
feel like when I last looked into them as like a viable option, it was like 4. People were like, oh yeah, like 4 years on a female, like you're doing good. And I was like, oh man, that's hard.
Yeah, I know. By that point, you're just now starting to really get attached to that animal.
Yeah.
Geez, I love them. Yeah.
So yeah, does that answer the question of things I like?
Question.
Yeah. I also love salamanders. I'd probably say something if I was gonna pick something, I'd do tree frogs. I really like tree frogs.
Very cool.
So I have a wide interest in many things. So.
It's that
just generally reptile
is on salamanders. So I love salamanders too. Spent a lot of time in the field catching.
Got a lot of
spotted.
Yeah, you got to come down to North Carolina, and Brian and I we'll all go find some very cool salamanders.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, North Carolina is the hot spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are. I think we're second to you in West Virginia, actually. In
okay.
Species. Yeah, but North Carolina's got us beat by quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot.
A lot of
that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I love field herping, man. That's my thing.
Totally.
Dude, I haven't gone field herping in too long, honestly. I hate to admit that. But it's been a while.
I probably haven't been since I was collecting my data, honestly, in this. But well, that's not true. I made a couple of videos this year, but just for fun.
But I don't know what else to ask.
Any more specific questions, guys? I know I'm about tapped out.
Yeah.
I only asked like one or two.
Who's your favorite superhero, and why is it not Spider-Man?
There you go. Get him.
We're doing this again.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I mean,
don't say Steve Irwin, even though
I know Brian did. Brian did.
That's a good answer.
It was a good answer.
It was a great answer.
I'm gonna say Jeff Corwin. No, I'm kidding. Gotcha. Oh man, I don't know. I would say like I like the Christian Bale Batman.
Oh, it's great. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
I would say I like that Batman.
Are you excited for Sparkly Batman?
No. Wait, is that the one is it Affleck doing it? Who's doing it?
No, it's
it's the Twilight guy.
It's the Twilight guy. Yeah, that's why
what's his name?
Sparkly Batman.
Sparkly Batman.
I can't remember it right now for the life of me.
Yeah, whatever. The lead from Twilight. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll see one of them. If it sucks, I won't see the rest of them. Yeah. Is that an acceptable answer?
Of course.
Yeah, you did good.
Any answer is really an acceptable
Steve Irwin's a good answer too, man. I mean, he's obviously a hero to most of us reptile people.
Oh, totally. But
we were just kind of expecting a more traditional superhero, and then he just came out with that, and we're like, well, shit, how do you say no to that? Because
wait, so was Brian the only one that's done that?
Yep.
Well, that's you two are the only ones who've actually
Robert Pattinson. Yeah.
I was gonna say Edward Cullen, but I think that's his name.
Edward
Cullen. Dude, that's what I was gonna say too. But that's
people don't even know his real name at this point.
the sparkly guy.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
No fucking way. Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's why I call him
Yeah,
sparkly
is he
Batman.
gonna
He
glitter
was not for
too?
children.
Is he gonna glitter too as Batman, bro? Like,
I don't know, man. But
He's got to feed on a deer every
He's
few
gonna be like,
months.
Batman.
Yep.
My wife watches those movies like once every 2 years, and I just avoid the living room for like 2 days. So
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm dreading the time that my wife's Friends reruns start.
oh no, yeah, not
Right
a fan
now-
of Friends. I'm gonna make some enemies with that too.
Yeah, right now we're in the smorgasbord. We got House. We're in the middle of House,
Nice.
Bones, New Girl, and Big Bang Theory. All of which
Nice.
we've seen several times. But pretty much as long as it's not Friends, I'm cool.
I'm
So-
constantly watching Big Bang Theory.
I have to say about House. So I haven't watched House in a long time, but I always thought it was funny how like most episodes, at least one time per episode, blood sprays out of somewhere where it should not. Like someone either vomits blood or sprays out their nose or their eyes or some crazy thing. Every episode, it's like without fail.
Yeah,
So I
House is
approve of
legendary,
that.
man.
Oh yeah, it's definitely great.
It's on Prime.
Oh, yeah?
House is
I'll
on
check it out.
Prime. Bones is on Prime. There's a bunch of shit on Prime actually. Now I'm sitting there thinking about it, but
Yeah. So what's
yeah, like
so let's say this. I'll ask you guys a question. So you're going to Tinley in October. What are you
Well,
excited
hopefully.
about? Hopefully. What are you excited about? What are you potentially shopping for? What are your goals with going? Like what's kind of your thoughts on the show? And kind of it coming up.
Yeah.
I'll go
we're-
first on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, shut up, Nick. Anyway.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you should be. Anyway, don't
know.
let it happen again.
I'm a
But
piece of shit.
no, man, I'm excited to. I don't want to say put faces to names, but I'm hopefully excited to get up with everybody, especially people we've gotten to know through this podcast. You, Gabby, Brett, Brian. Hopefully, we'll see an appearance from Wally as well. And it'd be cool to sit down and actually talk about all this stuff that we talk about. Maybe do some trading, whatnot.
Yeah.
Would love to see what everybody has. That could be a good opportunity for us as relatively early stage breeders, to get our hands on some some good quality animals. So I'm really excited for that.
Nice.
And I'm gonna not buy a chameleon. I'm not gonna buy a chameleon. I'm not gonna buy a chameleon. I might buy a
You're
chameleon.
gonna buy
Yes,
a
baby.
And we're excited because it's our daughter's first
For
time.
me, I mean, the only thing I'm really looking for right now at this second, and I'm
No, I'm not excited for that.
for then I'm looking for some really nice like latch gargoyle geckos, like a female,
Nice.
particularly. And then I'm also looking for female emerald, which isn't very easy to find.
Yeah.
So,
But it's the right place to do it for sure.
oh, for sure. My mail actually came from there. Was it in
2018.
18
Yeah.
was when I
Nice.
purchased him, and I've had him since then. He's done awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're definitely Tinley noobs, kind of. I mean, we went in 2018 the first time, and then we weren't able to go again until this past year.
Okay.
We tried to go in October.
Look at that. Carrie says another redfoot.
Yeah, okay. That's his girlfriend. She wants another redfoot tortoise.
Nice.
Hey, we're gonna
Yeah.
have the space, I guess. So.
I guess you
Hey,
will.
good news. You guys can breed them in like 10 years. It'll be great.
Yeah.
They're just cool.
10
man.
10 short
It's like
years, and
having
you
a-
two
like
can
a
have
cool
baby
little
red.
old man just walking around your house, you know.
Yeah, they're super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
do
man.
you want me to do it? I'll do a quick answer to Mike on his questions because he's
Yeah.
asking some good questions.
For
Real
you,
quick,
yeah.
overweight animals. It does not help the animal. So I would say keep the animals a healthy, lean weight. They do better. Specifically males. If males get fat, they get lazy and they don't breed well. And then females, obviously, you don't want them overweight. You like when females get overweight, I'll see clutch number in a season drop by like 2 clutches. So I try to keep them, females, I try to keep them in the like 55 range is probably, but every animal's different. There's some animals that can be thinner and be 65, 70 grams. But on the thinner side or on the normal side of weight. So I would say that. And then, yeah, Wally's out of here. See you, Wally. And then the market with Korea. Are you guys familiar with kind of what's going on with Korea?
No, I've heard a little bit about it, but not really. No.
So basically, for like 5 years, the Korean market, specifically like in Seoul, there's a lot of people that are really passionate about the animals and just buy like everybody's nicest animals. And so I think really the question is are those geckos going to be produced and sold back to the US market, and what will that do? I would say there's a lot of people producing a lot of nice geckos in the US too. And in all of my years breeding animals, they somehow all sell every year. So I'm not too worried about it. I think that there's constantly more and more and more people in the hobby, and animals that are produced will find a home. Mm-hmm. So that's my thought. I could be wrong. I've thought every year, how do people keep buying these things? Every year I'm like, how can there be like an infinitely increasing number of breeders and we all can still sell these things?
So could you argue that you guys are just selling to other breeders?
Oh, certainly. I mean, it depends on what price of animals you're selling.
Yeah, because I mean, like let's say like ball pythons. I mean, 90% of ball pythons that are sold are basically took
breeder to breeder.
They're taken from one snake rack into another.
And so building a successful reptile business comes down to trying to sell as many as you can and not buy as many as you can. That's where you can find longevity, is like controlling your buying habits.
It's a good rule of thumb with all businesses. So I agree with that.
You need to be bringing in more than you're sending out, obviously.
Yeah.
But as far as like geckos sold to, breeders, I'd say it's probably 80% are sold breeder to breeder.
Yeah.
And then at least with people, my peers of similar, like me and Gabby, and, when I go to a reptile show, I maybe sell 5 geckos to somebody, 5 different people that are like first time pets. And then the auction, I'd say it's a mix, but some of those people are buying their first gecko off, like an online auction. So it's not a lot. Maybe it's 25%. But they're certainly doing it. So
it's a good place to possibly get a very good deal. It just depends on how many people are going to bid and whatnot.
I think a big part of that is people just like to feel like there's like a human being behind the business they're engaging with.
It's different than going on Morph Market and pointing and clicking. And,
It's probably more appealing to somebody like the online, like live video is more appealing to someone who's never been to a reptile show.
Yeah.
So they've never been and seen the plethora of breeders and supplies and all these things. So for somebody that's maybe new to the hobby, maybe like a gecko auction on YouTube is like their first experience with seeing geckos moving and like, asking questions and getting them answered and all that stuff. So I find it's really valuable.
Yeah, I think it's probably definitely more personal than going through Morph Market or let's say Fauna Classifieds or something like that. I mean, half the time you ask a question and one ever answers it. You know?
Oh my gosh, yeah, man. Facebook groups it's a place I don't like to hang out.
We have a
I'll
whole
just-
episode on that we did early on.
Oh, really? Just how
Yeah.
horrible they are.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Social media in general.
I love it. I
they-
love it how people will ask a question. They're like legitimately new to the hobby, and then people just
Blast us.
just like blast them and just like call them an idiot. And I'm like, what has this become? This is awful.
Yeah, Facebook's a
got a lot of
relative
people who
joke.
out there, buddy.
Yeah.
We got a good one from Mike here. What's your
Okay.
most effective channels for selling animals? It's a good question.
It's changed over the years. Really, originally it was Pangea and like fauna classifieds, and then it was Facebook, and then Facebook became questionable to sell animals on, and then it was all right, let's go back to Pangea forums, and people didn't sell animals on Instagram. It's been all over the all over the map. I would say the best thing you can do, I would tell any business person, is to try to get their business off of social media platforms for your sales aspect. So I have a website, like an e-com website, that I consider kind of my social media as like my funnel. And then the people that want to buy an animal, I direct them to my website. Is kind of the way I like to do it. And it just helps me kind of manage inventory and keep track of kind of who needs to be shipped and who's awaiting getting their animals and everything. So
Do you use Morph Market and all, given that you have that? Or
I don't use Morph Market. I just find their interface to be really clunky.
Okay.
And it takes me more time to post because when I do an update, I'm often doing 50, 60, 70 animals at a time. And for me to upload things to Morph Market would probably take me like half my week.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hire somebody to just
Because I want to have, I'd like to have semi in-depth descriptions, multiple photos, parent photos. And when I have
stuff, yeah.
And my problem I was running into is I had animals on my website, and I had the same animals on Morph Market, and I'd sell them on one or the other. And then somebody would I'd sell it on Morph Market, and then somebody would buy it on the website on the same day, and I'd have to refund somebody or what,
Right.
So I was like, this is not good. I'm just going to stick to one channel, which was my website. So
now you also do reptile shows.
I do some. I really wouldn't say that it's a large portion of my sales. So I would say what I typically sell at shows is more just like, I typically will vend shows in times when weather is bad for shipping. So if I know if I post these animals right now, I'm going to have to sit on them for 3-4 months. I'll do a run of shows, once a month, and try to kind of, give the local people opportunities at some of that stuff.
Gosh.
So, yeah. And really shows just for me are just getting to chat with people and meet people. And, if I do well at a show, it's like, great, but I don't have super high expectations of them. Do you guys vend shows? Do you sell at shows?
I mean, I do my local expo here in my state. They go kind of all over the state. That's the only one that I do currently.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually haven't actually vended any shows. I'm planning on vending my first one this year. So
okay. I'll just say from my experience of vending a lot of shows, post-COVID, reptile shows are significantly worse as far as attendance and people buying animals. I think which is not a horrible thing, because it means that people trust the buying process online more, because most of the people I talk to at shows, they're buying animals online. They're not waiting for a show. They see an animal they like on Instagram, they buy it. So
I would agree with that. I mean, just from a small local show guy perspective, last year I did more shows than I've done in any previous year. I think I did 6. And most of them were not great.
Yeah.
See, and like what you were saying, I've done both recently in the last 6 months, online purchase and at Tinley.
Yeah.
And when I went into Tinley, I went in with not really a mindset to buy anything. I did want a pied ball python. Well, actually, I didn't actually want one going into it. How do I say this and not sound like an asshole? I've wanted one for many years. They were always kind of unattainable for me because I had a problem paying so much money for something that was just going to be a pet.
Yeah.
And that just something I kind of worked with and kicked back around and forth. But I when we got to Tinley the first day, Friday, and we looked around and saw the prices on them, it was pretty much my mind was made up. Kind of like an impulse buy type of thing, even though, thought did go into it, waited, looked around, checked everybody's stock out, picked one I wanted, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you definitely, when you buy something, for me, when I buy something online, like when I bought this Panther Chameleon, I got to take my time and look around, look at all the breeders, get reputations on breeders.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up getting my mail from, my mail from Frames Cams, and they do work with God damn it,
iPart Alice,
Yeah,
no,
it's Panther Chameleons.
Bill Strand.
Bill Strand. I lost my train of thought on that one. But anyway, they're super great people. And we spoke at length on Instagram over multiple days. They were sending me picture after picture, which ones they thought was going to progress the best and produce, and it just that kind of time that you can take to pick the right animal. I feel like you can't really do at a show because you're limited.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I do
feel
a
little more pressure,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, he's online sales have probably doubled since this whole COVID thing going on.
Yeah. And I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad that, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I like selling animals from my house. I like doing video. I like taking photos. I don't love taking gecko photos. It's one of the worst things ever. But, I like kind of taking the weight off of like, man, I got to be on the road. I got to be doing shows. Because that's a hard lifestyle. I mean, it's like being a weekend warrior in a band,
Yeah.
You're just like living in a hotel, eating fast food. It's just kind of, it's not great. So,
Sure.
I kind of welcome the online marketplace and kind of having expos be more networking, but still, offering people animals, but not having as high of expectations maybe as the past. So,
yeah. That's definitely something that we need to do a little more. Just focus on networking a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well,
Tinley's a good place to do it. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
and like I'll wrap it into like Mike's question here. Are the highest end animals sold, or are they kind of traded or sold privately? A lot of animals trade hands without anybody ever seeing them. That's true. It's true. I'm not gonna lie. It's true. But if you want to get those animals, produce really nice animals and then become friends with people. And then maybe they'll trade you some.
Right.
So,
yeah.
That is a real thing, but I would say that's a thing in probably any industry where there's this level of, I don't know, like the geckos are so unique, that it's probably the same thing with any industry where people are buying and selling things to mainly their competitors. It kind of comes down to like, if you're going to give one of those animals up at that point, the breeders don't really care about the money. They care about it going to a place that they feel confident where it's going and getting something in return that they couldn't buy. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but I guess it's not always about the money.
No. And like there's certain animals, like I got some animals this year that I only got because I got them from friends. Like they would not sell these animals on the private market. So a lot of it is just relationships. Like you have to, I mean, it's any business. You have to make friends, like not just for like your benefit, but with friendship and with relationships comes partnership, I guess really is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, is that
Do
something
it.
that you guys do? Like, let's say,
Collab work.
yeah, you do a lot of collab work, or
Yeah. I'm doing more of it. But a lot of people do a lot of it. I don't love taking other people's animals into my house. It's kind of like I don't like feeling responsible for someone else's animals.
Yeah.
Because if ever
I could see
something
that.
happened to them, I would just never, I'd feel so bad. So I typically do not. But I would say there's a lot of like collabs, like even down to like the other day, I got a gecko from Gabby and she's like, I'm not going to sell this one, but you know, we have some agreement where we kind of co-own it. An offspring she produced, it's very nice. She doesn't want it to be sold, but she doesn't need it. So it's coming to my house. It'll stay here for the foreseeable future. And then we have an agreement on it. So stuff like that exists, you know, for sure.
yeah, heck yeah. I'm
Yeah.
trying.
That's not a real question, Gabe. Yeah.
I snuck another. Hey,
Don't
side
worry about
note, I got another half an hour out of you guys. At this rate, we're gonna make it to 4 hours.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, let's go.
I got a little bit of a second wind going. So
Nice.
we'll see.
Oh.
Fuck it, I'll just be late to work tomorrow. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Work, bro. You don't need that shit, man. Come on.
I don't. Already had a great
Elon's
week. I
asking
really do
about-
not have to go in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Elon's asking about the
Global
global elites. Yeah, I think that they're really worried about the gecko hobby. That's their main focus. So
Yeah.
we got to look out.
So
Because
can we
they're-
interpret that name as Elon Jesus?
Yeah, I think that's probably that's the proper enunciation of it. But yeah, I think the global elites are definitely coming for the geckos. That's their main focus for sure.
Yeah,
I can
Yeah.
see
Watch
that
out.
being the case.
I hear there's a huge market for Cresties in Siberia.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I hear that's the next big hot spot for them.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Let me think of a question. All right.
Let me
Now,
just
you said that you make your own food. Now, do you supplement with, like, do you supplement calcium, or?
The only place I supplement calcium is in dusted insects.
So, like, yeah.
I don't give any of my animals liquid calcium, and I don't add additional calcium when I make like diet, if that makes sense. There is calcium in the diet I make. I don't make diet and then like put a scoop of calcium in it, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the only additional calcium the animals get is through insect gut loading and dusting. And gut loading insects is huge. I know that people talk about like, oh, you got to gut load your insects, but you got to gut load your insects with good quality things.
Yep.
So I'm very, like Brian, I'm very interested in, I'm putting up a greenhouse at my house. I'm going to grow everything that I put into my bugs. So
yeah, he was talking about that last week, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
I already did it. I've already been doing it, but I'm going even harder on my gut load and my insect program. So
Speaking, you saying greenhouse just made me think of this. Has absolutely nothing to do with growing anything. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I set up a bioactive bottom for one of my chameleon enclosures, and for like the drainage layer and stuff like that, you need a hydroton balls and whatnot.
Yep.
And I couldn't find anything local, but I don't know how much you know about Virginia or not. But over the last year, growing your own weed,
Hey,
like recreational, is legal here now.
Really?
So
That's
yeah,
fun.
in
He
like
said, "I'm moving to
3 months,
Virginia." I'm just playing.
in like 3 months, there's a hydroponic store on like every corner.
Oh my gosh.
So sure enough, I just go in there and they have like everything I need: the lights, the fixtures, the
Yeah.
hydroton balls, and they're like, "Oh, what are you growing?" And I was like, "Chameleons."
Yeah, I have a similar store in town here, and I go buy bags of vermiculite and
Mhm.
yeah, all that stuff. So I know the same experience going in there buying 50-pound bags of hydroton, and so I get it. And those people are always like, what? I guess they're not asking me what I'm using it for. I get more questions when I go to Container Store and buy like 500 shoe boxes. Like, what are you doing with these?
I'm gonna
I
rob
really
a
like
Payless.
shoes, man.
Or when I go to the dollar store and buy like 100 containers I'm going to use for lay boxes. They're like,
Yeah.
what are you? I just have a cart with like 100 like to go containers.
Yeah, or like when for mainly for Nick and me, like when you go to the store and buy all the pool noodles they got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not done the pool noodles, but
I got into using them
They're
in
pretty
my
damn
tubs.
good, man. I like them.
I want to move away from tubs, but I'm still using them, and so the pool noodles do work really well as like little crossbars for them to crawl on. And they're
Man,
so
Oh, yeah.
inexpensive that once
That's
they start
something-
to break down on you a little bit,
You just
I just
toss
throw
it.
them away and replace them.
That's
So
something
are
I
you
don't think we
using-
hit on.
caging and stuff.
Yeah, how do you
Yeah.
keep
Aside from
your
shoe
stuff?
boxes for babies and racks, like how are the adults being kept?
My animals are being kept in PVC now. They were being kept in tubs for a long time.
Yeah.
They're now being kept in PVC that are, I'm looking at a stack of them that's over here. They're 12, 18, 18s.
Okay.
So they're a 12, 12, 18 that's 6 inches deeper. And I keep the animals either single females or pairs.
Hold up, 12, 12, 18 to 6 inches deeper. So wouldn't that be like 24?
So sorry, it's a 12. The 18
18.
is tall. So 12, a normal 12, 12, 18 is 12 wide, 12 deep, 18 tall. So this is 12 wide, 18 deep, 18 tall.
Oh, okay. Look, I was adding
Yeah.
6 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no,
well,
so
6 plus 12 is 24. So, I mean, you're right about that.
yeah.
No, I was adding 6 to 18.
buddy.
Okay.
The
So, I'm curious. Are you using the same kind of racks that Gabby and Brian or Brett? Sorry, I don't know why I said Brian. Gabby and Brett are using.
I am using the same brand.
And what brand is that? Who makes those?
A guy named Tristan makes them. His company's
Junkie.
Gecko Junkie. Yeah.
Yep, I'm very
So
familiar with Tristan.
I'm
Weird.
happy with them so far. I mean, no cage is perfect. I like them. They dry out pretty fast for how little ventilation they have, which is pretty interesting. If you've ever seen pictures
Where
of
do
them.
you like to keep your humidity?
Ambient in the room, I actually run humidifiers in my room to keep the ambient at 60. I want it to be relatively humid in the room. And then I'm spraying these cages. I'm like soaking them every 2 days. And they will be dry 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that I have to spray my tub. The biggest thing for me is to like think about doing it, and I know that sounds shitty as a reptile keeper, but my chameleons are all automated with a Mist King.
Yeah.
So I don't have to think about that. It's done. It's done. I put water in the tub. It's done. So I would like to maybe figure out a way to get him set up with a similar thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about moving him into an Exoterra type enclosure. Set up along with my chameleons, but we just haven't got there yet.
I've used a lot of Exoterras too in the past. I like them as well. I think you can really use anything. It all depends on kind of your space. And the thing that I just don't love putting Exoterras, like you could either build custom racking, like build wood shelving into your walls and use Exos, or you could put them on baker's racks, which are 4 feet wide. But if you put 4 12, 12, 18s, you can't open the side doors on the 2 on the edges.
See, I got was it 18 by 18 by 24 talls on a 4 foot. They're actually right behind me. You see that?
Yeah.
And actually, it's pretty cool because if you put 2 of the 18 by 18 by 24 talls, you actually have enough space to have a
Shoebox
baby
before-
tubs in the center.
A stack of shoe
That's cool.
boxes. So I do it
Like, if you look behind me, you can see it over here, right there.
literally right here next
There's
to me.
a stack right
That's
in the
funny.
center. It's beautiful.
I have mine set up the exact like the same way but different. My 2 18 by 18 by 24s are pushed together, and then a stack of babies all the way on the end.
Ah,
Man, I will tell you, if you want to, you asked me how do you take care of that many geckos? Step 1, get rid of lids. That's like
Yeah, I'm still using
You-
lids,
when
but I have a small number.
you manually
when I
spray
want
everything.
the shoe boxes, yeah.
Okay.
The amount of time when I went from shoe boxes with lids to shoe boxes without lids, I think it saved me like an hour every feeding.
Holy.
It
cow.
went from like 3 hours to 2 hours. It was
Now,
cra-
do you not worry
back in the
about
day.
them sticking on the top of the tub? Of
No,
the rack?
I've never, I personally, in the racks I use, I've never pinched a tail in a tub. I've never lost a tail in a tub. From like honestly, I probably pinched more tails putting a lid on because I can't be like fully watching as I put the lid on. But when I slide the shoebox in, I'm watching it go all the way in, and I know where the gecko's at.
So okay, you're using like a standard like 6-quart.
Yeah, I use the Container Store ones because they're flat bottomed and they're square.
That's pretty cool.
I don't like the round Sterilite tubs, and the Sterilite tubs have too much. If you actually, so say like you go to Walmart and you buy 20 Sterilite shoeboxes, the ones on the top, they stack them and the plastic's weak. So the ones on the top will be too tall and the ones on the bottoms will have a huge gap in your racks because the gravity smushes them.
Mhm.
So the bottom shoeboxes, you'll put them in and they'll have like a 1/4 of an inch of a gap. And then the top ones like will barely fit. So I was like, this is not going to work for me. So I built it I got my racks built off of the Container Store shoebox, which are more expensive, but everyone is exactly the same. So there's no shoeboxes that are tight or stick or ones that have too much gap. It's identical across the board.
Gotcha. So just to touch on one of Mike's questions he just asked, are you?
Yeah.
I was about to
using
say we have a bunch of them to actually go
Yeah,
over.
are you using a round ventilation, like sort of a screen in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I'm gonna plug the number one business of all time, roundvents.com. Check them out. They're sponsoring today's podcast, roundvents.com. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to check that out because currently I am scaring my bird over here. He's flying all over the house. I'm putting the vents in myself with hot glue.
I did that for years and it's horrible. So
It
get
takes-
yourself over to roundvents.com.
Yeah,
I
I
will
sell
say,
a ton of these things. at
Look,
shows, actually.
you gotta admire how clean his hot glue.
Oh, that's
Oh yeah,
fine.
I don't play
that's
with the
fine.
hot glue. I don't do the whole. Let me
Bro,
just.
So how are you
Not
cutting the
gonna speak
holes
right
out? How are you cutting the holes out of them?
I'm not gonna lie,
whole
I
saw
thought
and
you
a
were
drill.
joking.
Hole saw, okay.
I
Yeah,
had to
whole saw
Google
and a drill.
roundvents.com.
But I'm real-
I had to.
Did you go check out their website?
Yeah,
I'm real-
It's pretty archaic.
The little.
It's not a good website.
It's round. I'm
roundvents.com. I thought he was joking because it sounds like some shit I would say.
The
But
only
it's a real.
the
it's a
only
real
reason
website.
I bring this up is because the other day my wife picked up a box that I had gotten a package from them. And she's like, "Is this really the name of the business? Like, this is where you buy these things from?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she just thought it was really funny. And so now I bring it up as much as possible.
Roundvents.com.
I've been buying these aluminum tabbed vents forever. So
I'm gonna have
The-
to start doing that because
Yeah.
I don't just make them for myself. I make like 10 or so of them every time I do a reptile show, and I bring them to the shows and I sell them there. People buy them up, man. They buy them up.
they're dirt cheap, man. Just get the tab vents. They're super
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it takes a
Um,
long time to cut those
Mike-
little screen circles out and do all the little dots of hot glue one by one because I like it to look really nice. I don't like to go, put a bunch of hot glue around it and smash
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike wants to know what kind of feeders you prefer. I'm going to answer this one for myself personally. I do primarily dubias because for the life of me, I cannot keep a cricket alive. I got a solid 3 hours with a cricket once it's in my house before it's dead, and I have no idea why.
Jesus.
No idea. It's not like it's cold in here. Like I have chameleons in here,
Hydrate
so
them.
it's not cold.
That's right.
And they got orange cubes and water crystals.
Yeah.
They die.
Honestly,
It's like they know.
put some orange in there or something like that. It helps.
He just said he has oranges.
Oh, really? Oh, well, shit. I'm deaf. Dang.
Dude, I really don't know why, man. They die. It's hours, matter of hours. They're dead.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. If I had to deal with your ass too, I'd commit suicide.
That's fair.
I'm just-
That's fair.
that's
To answer his question, I do. I have both crickets and dubia. I have a pretty big dubia colony now. I have like 3 breeder tubs. I'm gonna split it to like 5 soon. I'm trying to get most of the Rhacodactylus onto dubia, but I'm currently just building the colonies to the point where I can support the collection. Because currently I'm feeding like 6,000 to 7,000 crickets a week, which is not like absurd for. There's a lot of people that use more than me, obviously, but
I'm sure.
so for me to be able to support that on dubia, I need to produce a lot of them. So
yeah, you basically need a dubia room.
I have one. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I actually have a room at my house that is attached to my house, but you can only enter it from the outside. So if ever bugs got out in there or whatever, they can't make it into my house.
Well,
So
I'm sure your lady.
smart.
That's the right way to do it. Yeah.
yeah, and then I keep all the smelly crickets in there too. So
Yes.
yep, totally. Was that it for his questions?
No.
Oh, he was asking about cleaning. I
Yep.
clean my tubs. I clean my shoe boxes once a week. And then I deep clean. I deep clean them.
Ammonia.
I deep clean them like once a month. Yeah, you could use like a diluted bleach, or you could do like F10 too.
Do you put paper towel at the bottom, or you just go bare bottom?
Paper towel.
I've
Paper towel.
actually started that recently. I used to always use paper towel.
Mm-hmm.
I had issues where, for some reason, my babies would just never catch crickets. I mean, like they had paper towel, all the crickets would hide. So now on my babies, we just do.
Gabe, how often do you clean the cages? Twice a week? 3 times a week?
Cages?
The totes, the containers specifically.
Just
Your
probably
shoe boxes.
Probably
Once a week.
Yeah.
What I started doing, and my wife is actually who takes care of it's her gecko. But what I started doing is when I go in to clean the container 2 to 3 times a week, I'm taking that paper towel bottom out and taking everything out. So I'll take it out, give it a quick wipe down, put the gecko back in it, crickets or dubias, whatever you're feeding, go in with him while you're cleaning everything else out. He's gnawing crickets. They don't get under anything. They don't hide. And then it's right back together. It just seems to work for me. Probably wouldn't work if I had 795 geckos, but for the one
that is the thing. Like, people be like, "Oh man, like just feed dubias. You just like give it to them off a tongue." I'm like, I can't do that. I have too many animals.
No, you'll be there for 2 days trying to feed your guys.
Yeah. So really, what's kept me away from dubias for a primary food source for a long time was A, space, and B, they're really good at hiding in a tub. And so that is something you have to be aware of, is just like, all right, these dubias are going to try to hide. So I think I'm just going to do, I I switched from using 2 sheets of paper towel in my shoebox tubs to 1, which will help because the bugs won't have a layer to hide in between.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was just having too much humidity in the summer. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cut the paper towel in half because I need less of a sponge in the cage. But yeah, just constantly, man, the amount of times I've changed what even my shoebox setup looks like is like uncountable. So because it like you move into this house and it's drier, than the last house, or like, man, we had a really humid summer, got to change it up. So
yeah, I
you
guess
got to you just got to kind of roll with it and just know what you want the environment to be like, and then change the bin to accommodate that, or change the room. You can do one or the other.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, my Crested likes to hide under the paper towel. What?
Oh man, he's got a recliner. He's living the life.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
Full on recliner.
Yeah. So, you got any other pets?
I have a dog.
Nice.
Yeah, just one dog.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a beagle.
Oh, cool. I love beagles.
Yeah, she's
Nice.
super cool. She's like 3 years old. We spend way too much time with her because we don't have kids yet. So we just like baby this dog all the time.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah, you said something earlier about like your neighbors shooting guns and stuff all the time. Do you partake in the gun fun?
Totally. Yeah.
It's fun, man. They're fun.
It's super fun. I haven't done much of it at my house. I need to. I'm pretty sure I could hunt deer off my back porch.
Oh, yeah.
So from where, like, my back porch is kind of like up here, and then there's a creek that's down low, and then a berm on the other side. So it's like the perfect viewpoint where people would hunt deer. So.
Hey, look at this. That's a good question. I actually kind of like that question.
Yeah, I saw that too. You gonna put it up?
Yeah, throw it up there.
Put it up, bro. What would it be, man?
I'm gonna kind of steal. I'm not gonna. Okay, I'll give an answer of. Oh, man, it's hard. So I've been talking a lot with Gabby about this, and we're reaching the point with Cresteds where we almost have to work backwards. So I've produced some animals that are like full, like Harleys, where the base color is no longer there. It's only white. And so we almost have to breed them slightly worse to get that perfect, like 90% coverage. But that's not a good answer. I would say, like, if I was going to say the ideal Crested gecko, I want to see something I'm going to work on is I want to do yellow pinstripes, like the best yellow pinstripes I've ever produced. But I also want them to be crazy super Dalmatians at the same time. So that's something I'm going to work on in the next couple of years is high quality morph plus high quality super Dalmatian. So I'm going to do pattern Dals that are both, really bold ink blotch super Dalmatians, as well as their core, trait.
I'll tell you what, man, I that stripe, that yellow pinstripe, like that would be cool on, like, I don't even know if it would show, but on like something xanthic, so it'd be black and yellow.
Well, it won't, because the xanthic cancels out the yellow.
Out, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. It would show, but
also, yeah, quad stripes with ink blots would be cool. Another thing I want to do is I think that Dalmatians will get to the point. I talked with Brian about this. Him and I were out disc golfing like a month ago, and we were talking about this. But I think Dalmatians will reach the point where you can create a gecko that's almost entirely black with only Dalmatian spots. Like where the flecks of color that you see will be the base color, not the spots. If that makes sense.
Oh, so it'd be like
So like a reverse Dalmatian.
So it'd be like
yeah.
reverse. It's so spotted that the spots are the base color, not the Dalmatian spots. I think that's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be. I mean, with some of the stuff you're seeing nowadays with the Dalmatian, I mean, like,
yeah,
you kind of get.
Oh, by the way, that figure you threw out earlier of 10 G's, that was right on the money. I went on Morph Market and was looking around.
For Xanthics or for
yeah,
what? Yeah.
And it wasn't even like, not to sound like an asshole, but it wasn't even like the prettiest one. Like I saw pictures of a bunch of them, but there was one that was like just kind of bland and black, no real pattern. No.
Well,
real,
most of them don't have pattern. Most of them are like
patternless. Yeah.
phantom pinstripes or like tigers. They don't.
It
have
just
a lot
didn't
going
look
on.
like anything special to me, and it was straight up 10 G's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me away is like I don't know. If I'm gonna spend a bunch of money on something, I better be excited about it. And I'm currently not excited about those.
There is nothing out there right now that I think I would spend 10 G's on.
Yeah. If I did, it would be like something that is like first time in the hobby or like bringing in like wild caught blood of some species that is crazy that I want to work with or
I don't know why I
Brian
typed that
Susan.
in. I could have just said it. But yeah, with Sundown Reptiles, he was actually on
Brian
last week
Susan.
with us. So if you do have time, check that out. He's great having him on.
Yeah, he's a good friend. So
You
well,
play
yeah, guys.
golf? Do you do any real golf? Like,
When I was a kid, I caddied. I was really bad at it. Like most like 7th graders probably are. I've golfed a little bit. It's, me being a cheapskate, it's too expensive of a game for me.
it gets expensive.
So I like disc golf because I can go and play, and I don't have to pay to play. So
Disc golf. That sounds like
fun. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds. See, back in the day, I say back in the day, like I'm not old, but when I was in high school, I used to play ultimate frisbee. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I did too.
That stuff was so much fun, man.
Well, if you liked that, you'd probably like disc golf. It's I think it's technically the fastest growing sport in America.
Really?
So it's like hugely popular.
Dude, I've seen some crazy throws on Facebook.
Yeah, no, it's like it's growing like mad. So I started playing like I don't know, almost it would be 8 years ago or something. So
oh damn.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, yeah, I wanted to say thank you. I like the format a lot. I might steal your StreamYard thing. I like how you can put the comments up on.
Yeah, that's nice for sure. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like the highlighted comments. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and something he helped me figure out, Charles, AJ did. It looks like we are limited to 720 just because we're using free StreamYard. So if we do decide to subscribe at some point,
we need to just subscribe, man. I don't plan on shutting the train down anytime soon.
Yeah, me neither. We can take advantage of the 1080p cameras we have in our computers.
Yeah, and I think it gave you additional feature sets that I don't remember seeing it, but I rember seeing there was like a list of like all the things
I'm sure. First of all, we'll lose that StreamYard logo if we need to, and then we'll losing my train of thought here. I'm just talking out of my ass. I'm just like, I think we can do the things with the thing.
The things with the thing will happen.
Yeah,
for sure.
The things with the thing. Yeah, we can put like you can put like custom backgrounds, I think, and stuff like that as well. So there's some more,
more people on as well. Maybe we could do that whole conference thing. And like we talked about back when we were with Brett and Gabby, I think tomorrow, maybe after work, me and you are going to get together on the YouTube channel and set up some playlists and stuff. I want this to go into our Tinley series.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe we can work something out, do a quick update with everybody before Tinley happens.
Yeah, you could
get some people excited and
Yeah, you could do like a highlight of like, you could have some kind of like breeder spotlights of people that maybe you're friends with or know, or like, hey, what are you guys bringing to Tinley? What are you excited about? You know?
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
thing that you said earlier about the whole 12-hour stream really got me thinking, man, if we could work something out, and even if we like all four kind of hosted it, we could schedule times and have guests on for time slots throughout
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah,
And it
that'd
would
be cool.
a day of interviews and talking and
That'd be
just
fun.
shooting the gecko shit.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Well, we're shooting the gecko shit right now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, Charles,
Yeah.
of the Spider-Man, which is the best Spider-Man?
We've been waiting for this question.
I'm teeing you up.
All around, I got to give it to Tom Holland for all
Okay.
around.
Yeah.
But Tobey Maguire is the perfect Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield is the perfect Spider-Man. And Tom Holland is very good at being both.
Okay.
Toby is super polite and kind of weirdly just neighborhoody, boyish, kind of like Spider-Man,
He's
like
nerdy.
Peter Parker is.
He's
Yeah.
nerdy. Yeah.
Andrew Garfield is a little more acrobatic,
He's too cool.
gritty. Yeah.
But he's
kinda.
too cool of a guy, though.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
And that's why I said I think he's
cool.
like he's a good Spider-Man more so than a Peter Parker, and Tom's like right in the middle.
Yeah, nice.
He's got the quips and the nerdy weirdness.
With the shirt, I had to tee up on it because I'd assume you had an opinion.
Yeah, I do.
Based on your last question and or your superhero question, your shirt, I had.
It's a little bit of a giveaway.
A little bit, yeah. Kind of a nerd in that aspect, but
that's all good, man.
Have you seen the new one?
I did. I saw it in the theaters.
I loved it.
Bro, I haven't seen
Pretty
none
good.
of the Spider-Man movies since the first one.
It was crazy when Luke Skywalker came out at the
unacceptable.
end. Like when he came out, I just didn't see it coming.
What,
Dude,
Luke Skywalker
everybody.
at the end?
Yeah,
No.
I couldn't even believe that like they merged the two universes.
Yeah.
When
It
Doctor
was
Strange
weird. I
opened
didn't
that
see it.
portal,
Yeah.
and also Darth Maul came out of it with his double blade lightsaber, I was like, how are they gonna beat this guy?
He was in a wheelchair though, so they got that kind of
Yeah, he
wrong.
had no legs, which made it
No.
a little easier.
That's another thing I like, man.
Gabe
Star
is
Wars.
super
Big Star
confused
Wars.
right now. He's like, what the fuck?
Absolutely. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It's because he's a good lawyer, Gabe. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
He's a really good lawyer.
Dude,
Oh,
I
man.
don't have time to watch TV like that. Real speaking. When you really
too busy killing it in the reptile game. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Killing it.
I'm trying to be like you, man. Hopefully, I grow up one day.
Yeah. Well, if you ever watch my Gecko auction or stream, you will see that I have not grown up. So all I do is crack dumb jokes for hours and hours on end and talk about all the.
I
gross
got
things
a
happening.
little
Well, you know,
quippy
guys never
vibe
grow
from
up,
you.
you know, we
We have the same kind of quippy mentality.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
it.
man, I gotta say, I'm just gonna reiterate. On the foods thing, I was with you on the spam. Okay, I'm occasionally I like to eat spam, but man, I mean, I know you don't eat
Fruitcake
it a
is
lot,
what did
but
it.
Fruitcake, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's not often. It's not like I'm buying one
Right,
like,
and I
weekly.
know. Yeah, it's like maybe something you grew up on, so when it's available, seasonally, you'll eat some. But man, still.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't tell you
That's
last time I had a fruitcake.
Well, I don't eat a fruitcake. I eat a piece of fruitcake.
Right.
You throw the other whole cake away.
Well, that's what everyone does. You eat one slice and the rest of it molds and you throw it away.
Throw it away.
That's what
That's
what eating a fruitcake entails.
Oh my god.
He's not.
My
He's not
grandma.
wrong. Every time
My
I
grandma.
that's
Well, actually, I say mine. Our grandma's been making this green Jello.
Oh, nice.
That's
So
what
you
she
put
calls
hot
it.
dogs in it?
No, but it's like a
Yeah.
fruit cake, but instead of like cake, it's Jello.
Oh, that sounds
It's
good.
weird. It
But
is
is it-
good.
is it
like
only-
once every 3 years?
Is it only prunes and raisins though? That's what I need to know.
It's like pineapples and shit, isn't it, Nick?
pineapple.
What's in there?
Why is that bad? That sounds awesome.
It's not
delicious.
bad. It's weird. It's good. I eat it every year. I eat it. She makes it once a year at Christmas or
For
Thanksgiving.
years, our uncle would
And I
just
eat
always
it.
try to bogart the whole damn thing.
I think
Yeah.
at the way that the Gecko auction is going, at some point I will have like a 2-hour stream or I just like eat weird foods. It's gonna happen.
Oh, you're gonna
Because-
do like
Hey, tell me. Go
where you
ahead.
like
We'll
chew extra
we'll
loud.
stick around after the show. I'll give you
Yeah.
my phone number. Call me for that shit because I'm in. I'll host a weird stream with you.
Yeah, people
I
are
would do
asking me.
it.
They're like, "Have you eaten?" The last one you were on, Nick. People were asking me all these weird foods,
Yeah,
and I'd
Yeah.
eaten almost all of them.
yeah.
Not
Yeah,
like
it's
I
very
seek
cute.
these foods out, but like somebody tried to stump me with balut, which is a half-developed egg from the
I know,
Philippines,
yeah.
and I have eaten that. So they tried, they failed.
I'm a big foodie too. That'd be funny. Oh man,
Yeah,
I'm liking this YouTube realm. Man, we could
It's
get some
fun.
crazy shit going.
Anything, so
I mean, it's basically just like, yeah, like you're saying, like basically like calling your friend, and then everybody just gets to watch you goof
Hey,
off
you
for
know
2
what?
hours.
I just remembered you're supposed to do a Crested Gecko diet tasting. Remember?
Uh-huh.
Who, me?
No, Nick.
Oh,
So
it doesn't taste that bad. I've
I've
eaten it.
never tasted it.
Hey man, we talked about geckos too. Come on.
We also talked about the global elite. Yeah, and how they're bringing the gecko market down. So
Yeah.
Hot glue skills.
Elon
Yeah.
Jesus helped us out with that.
Elon Jesus
have
came
a claim
in-
to fame somewhere, man. I'm
came in
shitting every
clutch,
fucking thing
for
else
sure.
I do, so I can hot glue the shit out of a screen.
yeah, he freaking can.
You're gonna go to roundvents.com. Thank you for your sponsor, and you're
Yeah.
never gonna turn back.
Nope, you're right. I'm not. I'm gonna go to roundvents.com when we get off here and probably order like 100 of those things.
Yeah, he
to start
probably.
with. Even
Nick,
though I
you're
am
good at,
eating for my own geckos,
You're good
I'm
at
just gonna make-
precision cutting. You're good
That's
at that.
You know, get-
with your help a little bit, yeah, dude. I was so confused. I'm making these backgrounds. I'm making these terrarium backgrounds now for
Yeah.
people. And I bought a big piece of foam board and I cut it just really kind of fucky, like, you know, not really good to fit it in my car because I drive a Ford Focus, you know. So it's an 8x4 piece of foam. So in the parking lot, I'm out there with a saw blade, like
Oh
just
my
cutting it into
gosh.
pieces so that it'll fit in my car. And so I had to make I'm making a 47 by 22 for a guy and then a 35.5 by 16.5. So this 35.5 by 16.5, it's got two machined straight edges. So I just measured, made my marks, cut it to 35.5. That's all good. And then
Yeah.
the other two edges are the fucked up ones that I cut in the parking lot of Lowe's. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't even know how to go about like making a good cut.
Oh, that's funny.
So I called Charles this morning. I was like, I got a technical question. He's like, yeah, I told him about it. He's like, I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. Put me on.
Then he showed you, and he's like, "Yeah, there's no redeeming this."
No, he did. He helped me. He's like, take your fucking level, put it, you know, on there. Try to put it at a 90-degree angle, and then make your line, and then just measure from that line. And it worked, man. It's perfect. It worked. He helped me out.
I tell you what, man, you guys are fucking geniuses.
Yeah, I mean the level of intelligence here is just off the charts,
isn't it?
Oh man,
feeling it.
It's getting to the point where like, I'm just like slap happy. You get to a certain point in the night where it's just like, all right, we probably need to stop.
Yeah.
People are like, all right, just tell us when the fruitcake episode comes out and we'll tune in for that. But
yeah.
that's,
We'll watch it. Yep.
Man.
All right, well.
Whew. Yeah, this might be one of our longest ones yet, for sure.
Hey,
yeah,
I consider that a personal accomplishment.
Yeah.
Good job.
Man, I got.
Yeah. Well,
are you gonna hang around for a second after we end this?
Totally.
Awesome.
And if you guys ever, if you want a Crested Gecko specific question podcast, hit me up. We can do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, I know you have quite a good following and customer/fan base. So it'd be cool if we could compile a list of questions, or maybe do a live Q&A. Live Q&A would be great.
Yeah, totally. There's
and it's gonna
the
be
amount of
only
questions.
No,
That's fine. Mike speaks for all. So, I mean, that's what we've learned tonight. Mike's got good
Mhm.
questions.
He
He really does.
Yeah, he's
He
been on
really,
the
truly
question
does.
Yeah.
Thanks
He
for
was
hanging out, Mike. Oh, there
Yeah,
he
he
is.
was setting
Yeah,
it all
thanks.
up. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
But-
So yeah, that'd be fun. Live Q&A would be awesome.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, AJ. It's been a pleasure
thanks.
meeting you
Yeah.
and hanging out and talking about fruitcake.
Yeah.
The geckos were cool too, but fruitcake's where it's at.
I'll make sure I'll bring some to Bananas Bar and Grill at the Tinley Convention Center, and we'll eat a slice in the bar.
All right.
Dude, we will do it. Beers on me.
All right.
That sounds like a plan.
All right.
Here we are, guys, after this insatiably long, beautiful episode. I love it. Thanks again for coming out and hanging out, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Another one in the books, guys. We're hanging out. AJ's hanging out. You're hanging out. We'll see you next week for Reptile Hangouts.
All
Don't
right.
forget, smash that like and subscribe button.
Peace out, guys.